Okay, hi everyone. Welcome to our final talk of the Inspiration Week. Today, the topic is Teens in Action. So first we'll be hearing from Quddus, who is an 18-year-old founder and CEO of Digest AI, an early stage startup that makes learning faster. They created Quddus, which has over 10,000 users and are backed by Mark Cuban, Dubai angel investors, and others. Quddus also previously founded Wasama, a COVID-19 contact tracing platform, which awarded him the 2021 Zayed Inspired Award. On the side, he mostly watches football and does some fencing. Quddus will be talking about what it is like to be a teen entrepreneur and the journey of Digest AI. So feel free to take it away.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, well, thank you for having me. Thank you to Alina, Lucy, Theodora, and the rest of the sort of Teens in AI team. It's always a pleasure being part of the events. Teens in AI has a pretty important mission statement. It's always great to be a part of that. A quick intro about myself. My name's Quddus Pativada. Some people call me QP. I'm 18 years old. I started Digest.ai when I was 17 last year, in my last year of high school. We're now a startup that's backed by Mark Cuban, raised close to $500,000 in funding. And our whole goal is to make learning as frictionless as possible. Quddus is one of our main products. It's an app that lets you create flashcards instantly. And today I'll just be talking about sort of my journey, where we started, the learnings I've had over the last year, getting experiences and living sort of the journey that very few people our age get to live. So it's an honor to be here and sharing my experiences. Taking it all from the start, Digest was pretty much started in my bedroom as a side project. It was never meant to be a startup, never meant to be a company. It was really just an algorithm that I built in my bedroom. It started off as something completely different to what it is today. The first introduction to sort of the whole space of the startup was when I created this summarization algorithm that pretty much allowed you to take textbooks and summarize it into concise content for you to review later. That's what it started as. It was a very basic algorithm. It didn't even have an app interface. It was, in a Python console, very simple, very basic. But I had the idea. I shared it with a couple of my friends in school in my economics class. I gave it to some of my really close friends in my friend group. And I noticed that students were liking it more and more. There was an intrinsic need for something that helps students learn faster, cutting down on the inefficiencies that, I'm sure people on this call understand, and inefficiencies I faced myself as a student. And the whole premise was to solve problems that I was facing. The goal, the belief was always in the end goal, which was to make learning as simple as possible. So as soon as I had the idea, it pretty much, the first thought in my mind when, I was seeing this traction from my friends and seeing the interest from my friends was, oh, I'm going to make this a startup, which is usually the first thought anybody has when they, have something on their hands. So, I went out on LinkedIn. I reached out to pretty much every investor I could find, anybody with angel investor in their bio or part of an angel investor community. And I was pitching my idea like it was the next Microsoft or the next Facebook. And this was before I had a product. This was before I had, a vision, a plan. It was very basic. And I was just distributing it to as many people as I could and, reaching out, cold emailing as many people as I could. And that was something I wasn't afraid to do at the beginning. It was something that was definitely embarrassing looking back at it now. I probably reached out to over 100 people and maybe got like 6 or 7 responses, none of which followed up with me after, a week's time. But I didn't let that deter me. I kept working on it because I knew there was something there. It was something that was useful for me, my friends, people around me. So I kept working at it and I was trying to get my friends on board and see where I could take the product itself. Eventually, it evolved into an app where students could take pictures of their textbooks. So it uses OCR technology where you could take pictures of your textbooks and it would create summaries of the content you're taking pictures of. And in my head, I thought that was the idea. I was like, that's definitely going to make it. It's going to be useful for students. It's going to provide immense value. And today we're doing something completely different. But that's what it was in my head. And so while I was sort of distributing it to my friends, giving it to students around me, I was writing my college application at the time, and I had my college counselor who was asking me for advice on investing into Bitcoin, and he had $30,000 lying around from his savings, and he wanted to invest into Bitcoin. And when we were talking about that, I suggested to him, why not invest into my company instead? And I promised him, at the time probably wasn't wise, but now turned out pretty well. I promised him a better return than he would get investing in cryptocurrency. And that was sort of our first angel check, was $30,000 from my college counselor, somebody that helped me write my essays for over 6 months. And then once that we got that first sort of validation from somebody that was in the industry, I decided to get my friends on board, create a team. I got my friends Adam and Amir as my co-founders. They were people with me in high school, and convinced them to take a gap year with me to really take this thing to the full distance. I knew there was something there, but we had nothing in our hands, but we all had belief that we were going to create something that would be valuable in the future and would be useful for students as a whole. So we all decided to take a gap year. And just continued working on the product, continued discussing it with our friends. And then one day I cold emailed Mark Cuban, and Mark Cuban reached back. And Mark Cuban's the owner of Dallas Mavericks, a basketball team in the US, and a judge on Shark Tank. And we were fortunate enough to have Mark Cuban as an angel investor in the startup. And once we had that, that was really good validation as, 18-year-old students that were, a couple of weeks prior studying for their final exams, getting validation from one of the world's richest people, one of the world's most successful people in the tech industry. That was something that was sort of a tipping point for us internally, gave us the sort of push that we needed to make this what it could have been. So over the summer, we pretty much just tested out the product, gave the product to as many people as we could, people in high schools in Dubai, in universities in London, when we flew to New York with the funding we raised, worked with a design firm in New York, and we were just pretty much working every single day. I mean, we were at the point where we didn't even realize what we were doing. It was sort of just, muscle memory. We were waking up, doing work, going to bed. But we always had that end goal in mind, which was making learning as easy as it can be for students. We always had that end goal in mind, and we never deterred from there. Over the next couple of months, from August to almost November, we kept testing the app. We distributed a beta. We gave students everywhere in the world, US, UK, Dubai, trying to get as much feedback as possible. And then late last year, we realized summarization isn't what's useful for students. I mean, I'm sure people on this call, when they heard the summarization idea, you'd think, oh, that's awesome, but it wasn't something that provided students real long-term value, and it wasn't what aligned with our long-term mission plan, which was providing value to students and making learning as easy as possible. We weren't helping students to learn. We were just getting students and acquiring users, but it wasn't what we wanted to do, and what we weren't accomplishing our mission statement. So we completely pivoted the app and created a flashcard algorithm. So that's where Quddus was born. Quddus was an app where you could take pictures of textbooks, still had the OCR concept, but now instead of summaries being generated from your pictures, it would create flashcards, questions and answers for you to test yourselves on instantly. So I'm sure people on the call who've created flashcards themselves, it's a process that takes hours. You have to read your textbooks, write questions and answers, understand the content, and it's like physical flashcards, or you're going onto Quizlet and you're searching for the right deck for you at the right time. So we completely automated the process, made it as simple as we could. Just taking a picture of your textbooks, creating flashcards in an instant. That was the goal. And flashcards is the most efficient way of learning, and that's sort of the angle we took with it. And we were also fortunate enough to sort of raise, another $300,000 from Dubai angel investors, and a couple of members of our community, like executives at JP Morgan, people that were part of the Stanford Alumni Association, and more. I just got a question. The app is available. It's called Kado, Kado. It's on the App Store right now. I'll get more into sort of where you can find us and how you can get in touch with us. But so over the last couple of months, that's pretty much what we've been working on is every day, just constantly reiterating, getting in touch with students. We've been very user-centric in the whole process. We don't create anything without getting validation from the student community first, because we were part of that student community ourselves, and we know the sort of disconnect that corporations have with students. So that's sort of our mission statement, what we've been working on the last couple of months. We recently launched Kado on the App Store. We're now closing in on about 15,000 users, getting 60% week-on-week growth, and we're in the process of closing another seed round that will see our valuation increase about 5-fold. So it's been an exciting journey, and we're still early in the process. It might be, it's even weird for me to sit here and talk to you guys as if I've, done a lot, but we are early in the process. But the journey we've had has been quite fruitful. We've had, opportunities that very few people in the world have. We're a bunch of 18-year-olds talking to, billionaires, talking to funds worth hundreds of millions of dollars, getting opportunities that we generally would not have otherwise. But the major lessons sort of from the short journey we've had is the first thing and most important thing for all of us is it's incredibly important to start. I mean, even when I first had the idea for Kado, for Digest, it was a bit complicated. I didn't want to, give up what I was working on. I didn't want to, distract myself from school. I always thought school was what I needed to do, and all of this stuff was a side project. But it's incredibly important to start, and that's the biggest thing that people misrealize is they have an idea, they have a concept in their head, they have, friends they can do something with, but they never really truly start, and they always forget it and they let it go by. And then a year down the line, they see another company doing it and they wish, oh, I wish I had that idea. But the most important thing I've realized is it's incredibly important to start. It's something that, I've lived by my whole life. My teams lived by their whole lives. Creating platforms that may seem like nothing at the beginning, but has the potential to grow into something much bigger. And the second most important thing for us is it's incredibly important to not stop. The journey, any journey you take on, any meaningful journey you take on, will be a hard one. Over the last year, we've probably had, countless sleepless nights, panic attacks, just nerve-wracking experiences that, at moments we wanted to give up. But it's just incredibly important to not stop. Having belief in what you're working on is something that's incredibly important. We say something internally, which is, work on something you're proud of, even if it fails. And that's something important, not just in the tech startup world, but even if you're working on, or if you're an artist or if you're a musician, is working on something that you're proud of, even if it fails. That's what you should be doing with your life. And that's what, we're fortunate enough to have figured out at an earlier age is, if Kado tomorrow fails and gets no users, we'll all be still satisfied with what we've done because we were working towards something meaningful and something that was close to our hearts as students ourselves. And that's the next thing I'll lead on to is being students. I mean, I know people on this call are students, people in the teens and AI community in general are students. And a lot of us believe that our age is a barrier, and it definitely was. I mean, I got my first investment offer when I was 12 years old for a gaming startup. We developed games together, and it was a contract that was completely mudded. The terms were unbelievably unfair, and youth was definitely a barrier. But today we're sort of in a world where being young, being a student, being 18, 19, 20, even 16 is no longer a barrier. It's a reason to push forward. 5 years ago, I never think I'd have the opportunity to do what we're doing now, but youth has become something that's a selling point now. Being young gives you a perspective that very few people have. And it's incredibly important to sort of stick to that. And belief is the most important thing. And that's, something our teams had from the beginning. I mean, even when we hit 10,000 users or when we raised, $500,000, it were all things that, to everybody else was a huge surprise. And we got, tons of congratulations. But, I was never personally consumed by it because in our heads, months before things happened, we knew they were going to happen. We had that belief. We didn't know how we were going to get there. We didn't know what we were going to do to get there, but we had that belief that, one day we're going to hit 10,000 users. One day we're going to hit 100,000 users. One day we're going to hit 1 million users. And that was something that's important. Having that strong belief in your end goal, that belief that it will happen regardless of anything, has really helped us in our journey where, we're just pushing on day by day, not realizing what we're working on, what we're doing. But we just know that, 3 months down the line, X will happen. 6 months down the line, Y will happen. And that's something that's been very important for us as a team and as a startup. And that's something that's very important for people our age. Students have to realize that, when they're working on something, it's not the process that you should be attached to. I mean, we were working on a summarization app in the beginning, worked on that for 6 months almost, spent, hundreds of thousands of dollars developing that. And then all of a sudden we changed our outlook on what we were building, but we never changed our outlook on our end goal. So having that belief in that end goal, regardless of, what career you're in or what startup you're in, is incredibly important. Something that's helped us quite a lot. So pretty much that's like I mean, we're still young in the journey, but that's sort of the learnings we've had so far. Now we're at the stage where, we're growing. We're going to be out of beta soon. We're, doing a lot of cool things that I'm excited to show you guys. But it has to be done as a community. We've realized something in the past couple of months is we're not just a startup and we're not just building for students. Our goal is to build with students, like people on this call, like people part of the teens and AI community. So it'd be great, to have people on this call work with us. We've got tons of roles open. So, and this is exclusive to the call, but if you guys go to our Instagram page, I think somebody sent a comment on the Zoom chat, at kado.app is our Instagram handle, kado.app. Go to our Instagram page, just DM us, let's build. And I want to find everybody in this call a position that, in the company or an ambassador position that can help us work together as a team, because at the end of the day, students are our army. That's our biggest strength. Our biggest strength isn't, the technical talent we have, isn't our distribution strategy or, our DCF valuation. Our biggest strength is the fact that we are students and we're building alongside students. And that's what we want to do. So, anybody that's on this call that's, remotely a student or even just a young person, even if you graduated, we'd love to have you guys part of our startup, part of our journey, part of our project and part of our mission statement. So if you guys go onto the Instagram handle at kado.app, send us a DM saying let's build, or even if it's just a simple hello, somebody will get in touch with you, and we'd love to work with you guys. If you don't have an Instagram, feel free to email me personally, qp@digest.ai. And we'd love to work with students, because that's what we want to do. We don't want to just build for students, but we want to build alongside students. But yeah, that's pretty much a quick summary of everything we've worked on, where we're heading. We're super excited to see where, the startup's going to be. We're super excited to see where the team's going to be in a couple of months. And yeah, we'd love to have you guys sort of be a part of the journey we're working on. Oh yeah, just is it all right if I go to the sort of chat? I'm seeing some decent questions that I could answer.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, Anderson asked, do we have a product demo? I'm going to screen share a product demo. Let me just pull that up real quick. Yeah. So this is our beta. Can you see that probably on screen? It's like a screen recording. So yeah, it's our beta. You can find this on the App Store right now, KADO. And the logo, sort of what you see right there, which is like the two cards. So KADO on the App Store. It's pretty much simple. Like I said, our goal is to make learning as frictionless as possible. So this is, someone just taking a picture of their textbooks online, a textbook PDF. We're resizing the text, and then the algorithm automatically scans the text. You're able to classify it, in sort of the subject by name. And the app's been updated since this. So the algorithm does everything in about 2 seconds. And then instantly flashcards generated for you. So there's questions and answers for you to revise from, self-test yourself. And there's going to be a spaced repetition schedule. So you're really, truly learning. And we hope to even have an incentive at the end of it, where you're earning for learning, which is something we plan on doing in the next couple of months. But you see, this is sort of what our algorithm does is, take a large piece of text. Information nowadays is consumed by students in a pretty inefficient manner. So we use our AI to make it as efficient as possible, create flashcards for you, and then eventually have expand on the feature set itself.
That's amazing. Wow. I love that idea. When I was studying for my A-levels, I found it so hard to figure out a way to study and learn this information in such a short time, because they never really teach you efficient ways to revise in school. It's always either making loads of long notes or, like you said, writing out the flashcards in a really lengthy way. So I think this is perfect for all the students out there. If anyone has any questions, you can type it in the chat or unmute yourselves if you like.
Yeah, I think just asked what the icon of the application is. So if you go to our Instagram handle at kado.app, the picture of the Instagram is the icon of the application. The title in the App Store will be Kado-Learn Anything Fast, and the creator is Digest Technologies Inc. So hopefully that makes it easier. But if you just go to the Instagram handle, there'll be a link in the bio as well for you to go directly to the App Store.
Nice. Okay, I have a few questions. Firstly, did you have any mentors that were guiding you through this process while you were learning how to navigate it?
Yeah, at the beginning, no. It was pretty self-taught, but something I've realized as well is it's much better to learn by failing rather than learning with somebody next to you or babysitting you. Now, obviously, we do have advisors. Mark Cuban's an advisor to the company, so we do have that sort of expertise to lean on. When things get hard, like recently when the whole Ukraine-Russia situation happened, we have a pretty large part of our team based in Ukraine. So we were sort of navigating the situation, and we don't have MBA, so we didn't know how to navigate a geopolitical situation. But having those advisors to lean on was definitely a huge plus. But at the beginning, no advisors, no mentors, and it's something that you shouldn't also depend on. I think there was definitely a part of me that was looking for mentors, looking for advisors at the start. But, once I sort of jumped into the process, jumping in the deep end of the pool, I found that, just learning by failing and reiteration is sort of the best way to move forward. You get the best experience out of it. And it's always a good story to tell later on. So don't have any mentors at the beginning, but now we do have tons of them. Yeah.
What tools did you use when you were like trying to navigate it by yourself? How were you teaching yourself through it?
So I'd say the best resource is books. There's a lot of good books out there. Ben Horowitz has some really good books. Peter Thiel has some really good books. So books have been my sort of way I've learned. But recently I started watching YouTube videos. So Y Combinator, they've got tons of really great YouTube videos. They're like an hour long, so it might be a bit boring, but there are some really useful insights there. And it's always good to hear what people who have done it before, who are at the stage you want to be, listen to them. So books and videos are sort of my big ones, but it's pretty readily available now. You can just Google a question you have and you'll find tons of things out there.
Okay. Vanshika asked, that's not on Google Play Store, right? It's just on the App Store?
Yeah, it's just on the App Store right now, but we are working on an Android version. We expect to have that in the next couple of weeks. But again, if you just go to the Instagram page, DM us, if you just DM us saying, oh, I have an Android, we will add you to the sort of mailing list or contact list where we will notify you when there's an Android app out.
Cool. Another question we have in the chat is, what are the difficulties you're facing right now?
Yeah, difficulties, we do definitely have, I'd say product-wise, build-wise, we've been pretty fortunate to learn as we go on, and we've been pretty successful on that aspect. I'd say major difficulties have definitely been on the operational side. Again, like no matter anything we've done so far, we are still kids at the end of the day, 18-year-olds, and it is quite hard to get a grasp on the business side and the operation side. So again, like when the Ukraine-Russia situation happened, we were sort of confused because we had engineers in Ukraine that were unable to sort of get in touch with us. They didn't have Wi-Fi. They were trying to evacuate. So it was sort of a difficult situation for us to navigate. So our problems right now were always being operations and planning related, just because that's something we didn't have experience on. But it is something we're learning day by day. And in the round that we're raising right now, we've got some really good investors on board that are going to help us with that. But that's sort of always been the biggest difficulty, is navigating situations that you are completely unprepared for, and it's quite hard to even be prepared for something like that.
Yeah, I can imagine. Okay, Anderson is saying he just tested it. Wow. How does it know what is important from the text?
Yeah, so we use a proprietary algorithm that sort of looks at text, and it's an AI algorithm that sort of helps us decide what's important in the text first. So we categorize sentences by importance initially, so give them a rating, and then once we have those sentences, we use our principles in a large data set that sort of creates questions and answers out of the text itself. And the algorithm gets better day by day. Right now we're at over 120,000 flashcards generated. So every time a user uses the app, we feed it back into our data set. We fix the errors, feed it back into our data set. So the algorithm continues to evolve and get better for students.
Cool. I don't know if anyone else has any more questions in the chat. I have one more question. Oh, someone else's question. Okay. Does it only work in English?
Yes, right now it does only work in English, but in the next coming weeks, we are developing a multilingual model right now. So we're hoping to ship that pretty soon. That's one of our priorities, is getting as many people on it as possible, just to increase the accessibility. So we are planning to have every single language on it in the next coming weeks, but it is something in testing right now. But right now it is only in English, yeah.
Cool. Maureen asked, does it give you any outcomes?
What do you mean by outcomes?
Maureen, I don't know if you want to clarify that, or if your connection is good, you can unmute. But in the meantime, disadvantages.
I'm not sure if I understand the question completely right. Do you mean, does it give you does it give you, are there disadvantages to the platform itself, or?
Yes, you can choose how to answer it however you like.
I mean, feel free to unmute yourself. I'd love to answer I can answer Yuvi's question in the meantime, while Maureen expands on any new functions that will be added. Yeah, disadvantages of the application. Sorry, UV. Disadvantages of the application. I mean, like I said, it is an algorithm, so it is a day-by-day learning process. So there's definitely a sort of process where with certain text it doesn't work the best, or the OCR may have errors, and that is something we're fixing on a day-by-day basis. And we're pushing an update every week, or as many times as we can. But yeah, it's definitely not a perfect application. We're still in beta, it's still in development phase. But in the next coming months, when it comes out of beta, you will see a lot of those issues fixed. And if you get the app for free right now, it'll sort of make you a premium user that gets you in touch. And that is why we want to build this community of students, like Maureen, even if she's a student, to come onto our Instagram page, DM us real quick. Because students are our army. So when a student finds a bug or disadvantages that we didn't foresee, that's something that's really useful. Internet connection is the one on student. Yeah. I mean, with the internet, we do work well with a diminished internet connection. It is an online app right now, so it doesn't work offline. But even with a weaker latency, it does work well. Yeah. And in response to UV, just because I just want to answer UV's question real quick, any new functions that will be added to the App Store, to the app in the future, we are working on a couple of really exciting things. I mean, right now our goal is to make the process of creating your revision content as simple as possible. But our vision in the next coming weeks is to have some really interesting things. So one thing we're going to be focusing on pretty soon is learn to earn. So once you create a deck, or once you find a deck on the app itself, you'll be able to earn for finishing a certain deck in tokens or coins. That is something that we're working on internally. We haven't spoken about it publicly yet, but it is something that's definitely interesting. We think is going to provide a lot of value to the student community. Other than that, our goal in the next year is to be a private knowledge sharing economy. So right now you're creating your own resources, but eventually you will be you will have access to teachers on the app that are sharing their own flashcard decks, a centralized resource for your syllabus or your university classes. So if you're doing A-level math, for example, there'll be A-level math teachers all over the world creating a study deck for you to revise from. So that is our goal, is to be a private knowledge sharing economy. Maureen, yeah. So if you DM the Instagram page, we will get an email off you, or we'll DM you back on Instagram. That will sort of, and we'll create a connection there, and we'll have you guys part of a community that we're building internally. So you guys will be notified in any update. Yeah, I mean, do we have time? Can I answer the rest of the questions in the chat?
Yeah, there's 2 more questions. So yeah, let's just answer these, and then okay. I think that's all we have.
Yeah. Giacomo, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. You mentioned earlier that you could use some help in what fields, and where do you see yourselves in 5 years? We could, in terms of help, what we're looking to build is a community of students that we're building alongside. So that's our biggest priority right now, is getting as many students, as many people on board that believe in the same vision that we believe in, which is making learning fast. And this will help us expand, be a part of universities, create communities within universities and high schools, or even younger or even older. So our priority right now is just building up that community. So if you just DM that page, let's build, or simple hello, we'll get in touch with you, see where you guys could fit into the company itself or the project, and we'll sort of work with you to see where you best fit in, and we'll definitely find an opportunity, at least for everybody on this call. I can't promise an opportunity for every student alive, but everybody on this call will definitely try to find an opportunity there. And Anderson said, are you offering any internship roles? We are offering tons of internship roles. We are planning to have a summer internship program that's much wider, but right now, like I said, just DM the Instagram page. We'll find out where you guys could fit in the company itself, and we will be offering internship roles, ambassador roles, in marketing, even in the tech side of things. If you want experience working alongside our developers or project managers, that's something that's completely, that's sort of our goal here. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Maureen, that's the Instagram handle. The app bio will be right there in the bio. You'll see the link.
Cool. Well, thank you so much. Clearly everyone is really excited about this, and excited to get involved, and excited to test out your app. Yeah, how can we contact you if we don't have Instagram? Do you want to say your email really quickly?
Yeah, I'll put the email in chat real quick. Feel free. This is my personal email, so feel free to just reach out. Any questions, any ideas. If you want to be part of our community, part of our team, just email me, and we'll get that set up.
Cool. Thank you so much. I think you've inspired a lot of people today here. and we'll hope to see you soon again.
Awesome. Yeah, UBS, you have another question, just DM the Instagram page. We'll get back to you or email me personally. I'd love to discuss that with you as well. So I'm sorry I couldn't answer it right now, but obviously we do have competitors. There is a competitive landscape, but I'll get in touch with you personally and we can talk about it.
Cool. Well, thank you again. And we're going to introduce our next speaker now. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you.